The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.
Welcome, everybody. It's Keefer and Kurre Sports as a new week is upon us. And there's one story and one story only in college sports that is blowing up right now. It is the talk of the nation. It is controversial. It is literally, you can't make this SH blank blank up caliber. It's unbelievable, Tony. It is the Brennan Thorsby story. And the man who right now is the author of and the financier of a bill in the United States Congress, Save College Sports, Cody Campbell, the great white knight. This is his $5 million transfer quarterback from the University of Cincinnati, your old stomping grounds, who has come to Texas Tech. And it's been revealed that this guy has been betting with both fists since his college football career has began, many times in games involving his own team. Although right now, like Pete Rose, the allegation is that he's never bet against his team. Yesterday, in the absolute, you can't make this up. A retired judge who retired in 2012, that was 14 years ago, was called in as the special arbiter of this case to against the NCAA, which had suspended Thorsby pending an investigation. This judge found that Thorsby could play this year while this is being litigated, and the defense by his team, again financed by the great savior Cody Campbell of a Texas Tech alumni and a billionaire oil man, by the way. Cody Campbell, who bought a team that got to the playoffs last year, hired a dream team, and it comes down, Tony, in court cases to who has the most expensive, fanciest lawyers. These lawyers argue that Thorsby's being unfairly treated because what's wrong with him is not a gambling problem, it's a mental illness. And he deserves to have treatment and compassion over everything else. So Thorsby was reinstated, and the college football world has absolutely gone apoplectic.
And now Texas Tech right now looks like they may have a difficult time finding anyone to play this particular year because everyone has got Texas Tech, including teams in their own division, teams formerly of the Big 12 and others don't want to have anything to do with them. And as part of this deal, they're like, we're not playing Texas. By the way, Texas Tech, just to kind of go back, listen, and there are loopholes. There are rules. They have done nothing wrong as far as in the NIL and paying players, but they were one of the first crews to offer each individual lineman on the offense and defense $25,000 per player, even if they didn't play, just to sign up with Texas Tech. There's a reason why these Indianas and that a lot of that has to do with the Alumni Association, but the Texas Techs, just look where the money's coming from and look how good these teams are. I want to kind of go back just a little bit. In October, the feds announced a sweeping investigation into an NBA point shaving rings tied to the mafia. As recently as 2 weeks ago, federal prosecutors alleged an unsealed indictment that Terry Rozier, remember him, one of the players caught in the probe, accepted $100,000 to leave a game with a foot injury so that a group of gamblers could cash in on a hefty profit. Since January, more than 24 basketball players have been permanently banned for game fixing. The most recent additions came last week with 4 players from Alabama State deemed permanently ineligible. Many of the college players were pulled with the promise of making quick cash for career criminals. And in the Alabama State thing, it was like $2,000. I mean, it was ridiculous. The Alabama State thing was unbelievable. Then came Monday, where you just alluded to it. A Texas judge granted Brennan Thorsby, formerly of the Bearcats of Cincinnati, a temporary injunction allowing the quarterback to play for Texas Tech. Thorsby has been declared ineligible after violating NCAA rules and placing more than $90,000 worth of bets on sports, including more than 40 wagers on the Indiana Hoosiers while he was with the team. There is a temptation to expand the view of this ruling to look at the slippery slope that's been legally greased and pontificating, of course, that goes further into the damnation of college sports, except there's no need to enlarge the picture. The snapshot is enough of itself. It is what it is. The saddest twist of irony, the decision to allow Thorsby, who has admitted that he's seeking help for gambling addiction only underscores how badly so many people are addicted to football. And like, this is nothing that surprises us. We knew this was coming. This is the tip of the proverbial iceberg. You know, when you look at an iceberg, only 5% of it's above the waterline. The rest of it's below. We're going to start getting the below aspects of that. And you and I have been talking about this for months. Listen, we used to be part of a site, you know, where you could go get plays and stuff like that. And certainly we had free plays. And so we didn't ask anyone to pay for these things. And we certainly give out plays, and we do things, you know, for steak dinners and stuff like that on the starting lineup. And so you and I have been part of this for a long time. I wish I could honestly say, I wish I had never made a bet when I was 16 years old, because I'd probably be a millionaire. I think it's really important. You know, I share that with the documentation with my kids. Listen, it is something that, and I'm not saying that everyone can, but there are a lot of people that go to Vegas, and you know, the whole idea is first of all, never see an ATM in Vegas. If you're going to an ATM, you got issues. You got problems if you're going to an ATM, although that's the only machine that pays.
Yeah, it pays pretty good.
It pays really good.
Right out of your own account.
Exactly. If you're going to an ATM in Las Vegas, you got issues. So yeah, this is just, I mean, this story, and like you said, you can't make this up. This story is so far reaching. It's got so many tentacles to it. I don't even know where to begin. Art Schlichter, do you remember Art?
Oh, absolutely. He was in a very similar situation and was treated severely. That just goes to show you what a different world we have now. There was still some enforcement in the Art Schlichter days. Now we live in the wild, wild west. Why not violate the rules? Do whatever the hell you want. There's no sheriff in town. There's no repercussions.
We had Art on our show several times when I was doing the opening drive, whenever it come down to gambling situations. And he's wide open about his gambling addiction and has relapsed more times than he can. He had an unbelievable opportunity just several years ago to work for WLW up in Cincinnati, which is the flagship station, the Cincinnati Reds and the Bengals, because people knew him. He played at Ohio State, was a good quarterback. I'm not sure if he was drafted or not, but I mean, I had an arm and I to probably play.
He was drafted by the Colts, and
he was. But just the gambling thing, it pulled him down to the point where he was involved with everyone, the mafia and everyone else, and not only with his own issues, but he was working. The problem with what happens is you get so deep in with these individuals who are like, okay, you're going to throw this game. They're not asking you. You're throwing this game because you owe us X amount of dollars. And then he starts working with other individuals to not only incriminate them, but also get them involved in this grand scheme of things. Hey, listen, there's a way to make money. I really need you to do this for me. Remember when I threw that game for you a couple of weeks ago? Well, now you need to do this for me. And it just went on and on and on. And much like a sex addict or a drug addict or an alcoholic addict, it's a real thing. And he's just absolutely. I still have his phone number. I can call him right now and get him on the show. He is one of these guys that has just never gotten over it, and so this gambling thing is a real deal. I want to back off that a little bit because I don't really want to talk about the gambling aspect of it. We can talk about gambling addicts and all you want, you know, and how that's probably going to blow up with the inside of DraftKings and everything else over the last few years, and how susceptible and how easy accessible it is to gamble in the United States right now. And by the way, DraftKings is running some commercial now that all 50 states can now use DraftKings. No, you can't. No,
that's not
true.
You
can use it. You can draft a football team, but you can't make a bet on it. Alabama's one of 3 states you can't do that. But they had some big breaking news. Alabama now one of the last states to finally agree. No, you still can't. You still can't make a bet in the state of Alabama. And it doesn't mean you can't find a way to do it.
Yeah, well, I know thousands of people who are, because once again, there's no enforcement. That's the rule, but nobody's enforcing it. So why follow it? So
gambling has always been, and I'm so glad you brought this up because it's the same exact thing I wanted to get. Gambling's always been one of those, you know better deals. I mean, it's just you just don't do it. You don't do it. Now, I get that Pete Rose was thrown out of baseball for his life. I get that he'll probably make in the Hall of Fame now, that it'll be a posthumous situation. I also understand that you can make a bet on the Cincinnati Reds game at Great American Ballpark prior to first pitch later on this afternoon. But Pete Rose will no longer be in the. I get that. The game has changed. Gambling's changed. Forever, you couldn't even gamble on Las Vegas sports. If
baseball sold out for the money.
Absolutely. Well, and you can make a point that everyone has. I mean,
that's exactly right, and that's why the whole Rose stance all those years of never reinstating him while he was alive was just criminal. I've told the story in some other times. I was at Cooperstown 2 years ago. Pete Rose is all over the Hall of Fame. He's not enshrined, but there's like 3 different displays: the Big Red Machine, the Hit King, and there's his uniforms there, his bats are there. And I was looking at, I told the guy I was with, my friend Mark, I said, well, Pete's very much featured here in the Hall of Fame. And there's some old New Yorker standing next to me, said, he bet on baseball. And I said, oh, baseball's sponsored by DraftKings. That's rich. And the guy walked away like mumbling. And Mark says, that was way over his head. So the hypocrisy is absolutely ridiculous. I want to talk about Cody Campbell real quick, Tony, because this is a guy, again, a billionaire. He was a backup lineman on a Texas Tech football team. He played at Texas Tech in college, but he went and made a fortune in the oil business. He's almost like right out of a storybook. He's a rags to riches. All of a sudden, well, one day, Cody's a billionaire, and Cody has thrown his money around, and one of his great acquisitions is giving millions upon millions upon millions of dollars to Senator Ted Cruz of Texas. So Ted Cruz writes this bill that's going to save college athletics, and they bill this, complete crock of what. 2 major capitalists writing a bill that is calling for a basically socialist distribution of revenues from television networks. We're going to pool all the money from all the networks together and distribute it equally. Yeah. Well, the SEC and Big Ten said, excuse me, we're not for that because our leagues are superior and we're making the most money. So this ultimate capitalist is proposing this. And here's my favorite part, Tony. The big thing to build this bill is designed to save women's sports in college and preserve the Olympic development program that's so critical in college athletics to the success of United States Olympic teams. That's how they're billing this. But you and I and everybody with a functioning brain know what the motivation for this is for Cody Campbell with all this other crap that they're spewing around Washington trying to get this thing passed, which won't happen, by the way. They're going with all this great, dramatic, reasons to do this. But the only reason he's doing it is because he's trying to buy Texas Tech's way into being one of the, giants in college football and to elevate the Big 12, which is kind of a dumpster fire, not as bad as the ACC, but close. They are not on the level of the other 2 major conferences, the SEC and the Big Ten. And this is that's 1,000% his objective. That's what he's trying to accomplish here through Washington. And when's the last time Washington got involved in anything and made it better? It's all the hypocrisy, all of the irony of this situation. And for this to blow up in the face of the great savior who brings in a $5 million a year NIL transfer, apparently without even vetting the fact that Sorsby is involved in this. It came out shortly thereafter. And today, Tony, if you look on X, there are 5 or 6 plays from the previous season at Cincinnati where Sorsby has an untimely drop of a shotgun snap or makes a terrible throw for a pick 6, and people are looking at every one of those plays and the caption's the same. I wonder how much he cashed in on that play. Yep. I mean, and it's going to even get worse.
Yeah. Judge Ken Kurre, I think this is hilarious. He decided Sorsby should return to a world where he's surrounded by the very thing that has fed his addiction, which is all hysterical. I mean, obviously, if you're a sex addict, you shouldn't be making porn movies. Okay. That's what he's doing. And he's going to have the very valuable inside information, not to mention, of course, the opportunity to impact a game. You are basically, this is not Ted Danson being a former addict, alcoholic, running his own bar. This is not a comedy show. This is real life. You're telling a guy who's got a gambling addiction to be thrown right back into the same situation that probably created the addiction in its first place. The judge, conveniently based in Tech's hometown of Lubbock, argued that Sorsby will suffer probable, imminent, and irreparable injury if he's not able to play for the Red Raiders this year, conveniently overlooking the irreparable damage an unchecked gambling addiction might cause in the first place. He's basically saying that if he's not allowed to play, it's going to create even a worse situation for Sorsby. He argued the NCAA was punishing the quarterback for his mental health condition, as he suggested that ruling prevented him from making an informed decision about entering the 2026 NFL supplemental draft. First of all,
are we going to start getting decisions like that if a guy shoots 10 people in a bar? Well, we can't sentence him to life in prison because that's going to do irreparable damage to his psyche and his well-being. I mean, good grief.
First of all, what is up with the judges? I mean, the one thing that I thought we could always kind of count on was our legal system. I mean, we're seeing this, we're seeing it from the Alabama state. I mean, all of a sudden, all these hometown judges from 14 years ago, retired guys, where the hell are these guys coming from? We're making these huge decisions for these college players that are tectonic plate movements, man. I mean, we're moving the sport as we know it is tectonically. This is a Philippines earthquake here. This is what this is. We are still finding dead bodies. It is ugly.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And this is classic throwing enough money around. This judge retired for 14 years as a Texas Tech graduate. Shocking. And he is brought in as the special arbiter of this case because any kind of functioning judge probably didn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole because politically, they're worried about their status and what they're going to be able to achieve in their career. So this is the perfect fix to put a guy on the bench that's an absolute homer who is and you hate to say it, I have no evidence of this, but I imagine the judge in some way is being very well compensated for his return to the bench for this monumental decision, because again, it's so consistent with what's happening in our society. All principles, all righteousness, all common sense goes out the window if we're going to achieve our objective. Right now in politics, we've got a guy running for the Democrat nomination. It's in the state of Maine. The primary is today. This Plattner character, all this stuff has come out of how he beat up women and he's had a Nazi tattoo on his chest, for 30 years. And all of these things he's written, these perverse things. He's been on websites with teenage girls. And I mean, this guy is like 10 years ago.
They're just trying to be a distraction. You think?
But all the Democrats, because this guy looks like he's going to be running against Susan Collins, who's been the Republican senator for years, for 5 terms in Maine. She's been up there since the Roosevelt administration. But the point is that all these Democrats are just holding their nose and go, I'm for Plattner. He's learned from his mistakes. He's a different guy now. This is the same kind of guy you have to believe all women, but they don't believe any women now because to get the objective, which is to try to get the Senate back, they'll take anybody. They'll take an axe murderer. They'll take anybody. And it's not this is not a political rant about Democrats. This is on all sides. Everybody now is willing to set aside their morals, their principles, their righteousness in order to achieve the objective. I think I told.
And what is that objective? That objective is to get the seat.
To get power, control, and money. Yeah. That's what it comes down to. A good friend of mine is one of the editors of the Las Vegas Sun, who my sons both work for. And we were having breakfast a couple of years ago when the marijuana question in Nevada was being discussed. And he was talking about how he thinks legalizing marijuana is a terrible idea and it's going to cause societal problems and all this other stuff. He goes, but on the other hand, when I learned that the publisher of our newspaper is going to have the license for 2 of the 10 dispensaries in Nevada, and that's going to create a lot of money for our corporation, which is going to beef up our publication situation. I love marijuana. I mean, that's where we are.
That's how we change. We do change. We do change, my man. We do change.
Yeah, we just set aside our principles if it's in our best interest to do so. And at the end of the day, that just doesn't weigh in very well with me.
So Brendan Sorsby threw for over 7,000 yards last year. Texas Tech playoff team. There's no reason to think that they probably assuming they'll be able to find someone to play. Now, all of a sudden, everyone's kicking back saying there's this huge onslaught of football teams from every major conference saying we're dropping them, we're not playing them, we're getting rid of it. I have not looked at Texas Tech's
the outrage schedule. Is unbelievable.
Yeah, it really is. And really, I'm thinking to myself, if you want a W, it's a lot easier to throw a game than to win a game. Pete Rose used to bet on the Cincinnati Reds to win games all the time, but it's a lot easier to lose a game than it is to win a game. It is like 100,000 times easier to throw a game, to throw a pick, to make a dumb mistake, to drop a football, in the shotgun situation, as opposed to, completing that 39-yard pass that you have to make to get a 4th down conversion. It just doesn't happen. You don't ever bet on a team that's really good. You bet on a team to screw up, and that's where you make your money. Sorsby, talk about the scrutinization of every single thing he does is going to be looked under a microphone. Ridiculous. It's going to be every bad throw. I mean, this kid's, and listen, he's not going to be given an opportunity. I don't think he's at this point, he's probably like, do you think the National Football League will want to have anything to do with this kid?
I don't know. If he does get to play this year, he better be sensational, because all that gambling stuff had come out on Schleister a bunch of years ago, and the Colts still took a chance on him. I think right now there's so much more scrutiny in the NFL about your character. Cody Campbell brings this guy in completely unvetted and gives him this big deal. That never would have happened in the NFL these days, Tony, because as much as they want to analyze your physical skills at the combine, they sit down with all these guys with all these psychological tests and all this other scrutiny. So to answer your question, I think there might be a rogue organization in the NFL and say, hey, this guy's too talented.
If he was the next Brett Favre, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
exactly.
But he's the point. Not only does he make horrible decisions, and obviously you want to see that out of your quarterback, right? You want a decision maker. You want someone who makes good decisions, whether it's beating your wife or making a bet on a football team. The guy's an addict. And having this in my family, I totally understand it. I don't like the stigmatisms that are tied to it. I know there's people that recover and they do really well, and I'm praying that he goes down that road. But he's a young college kid that is thrown in the mix of this thing, and all of a sudden he's being thrown back into the strip club as a sex addict and saying, good luck.
Yeah. And it's the danger of giving 18 and 19-year-olds millions of dollars.
Exact. Thank you. Go there.
I haven't heard anybody say that. He wouldn't be in position to be doing this if he didn't have all kinds of money to throw around. Let me say this too. It's come out today that although they're saying, well, he never bet against his team. Well, he made a couple of prop bets that have come out now that have been released where he bet under the statistical thresholds for the starting quarterback in Indiana when he was a freshman redshirt on the sidelines. So that tells me that you've got a little knowledge going into the game that the defense is matching up favorably against your quarterback, or maybe his shoulder's sore, or maybe he's banged up from the week before. He bet against his own guy ahead of him in 2 different games to underperform the statistical threshold. And so to me, that's betting against your team.
And, I never thought we saw this with the NBA. We've seen this with refs. People are like, it's fixed. We got a friend of ours there. That's all, everything's fixed. And I'd like, no, it's not. It takes too many different people to make something actually fixed. The issue here is that it does happen. Vegas is really good about finding things and seeing things, whether it be a college baseball thing with Alabama earlier this year. We see things, the numbers move, lines change. You see enormous amounts of money coming in, like the Alabama State thing. Man, if you're going to throw a football game for $2,000, are you kidding me? You got to throw your whole life away for $2,000? I mean, how bad does it need to be?
Crazy.
I mean, go up to the big bucks if you can do it, and then it's certainly you have to make money on those things. So, as a football player, you're better off not making the gambling or the wager yourself. You're better off getting with someone from the mafia that can throw out the $200,000 or $300,000. They can make the bets. They can make, and that way you're out of it. You don't have to make the gambling bets. You can say, "Yeah, I dropped the pass." Mistake, blah, blah, blah. So try to prove it down the road. But this is not, a lot of people are like, this is going to ruin sports. It's not going to ruin sports. This has been happening for years and years and years.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's already done. It's already over. And we find out about it. And normally something like this cannot be killed as a secret for very long. And, you don't ever see, we can go all the way back to the Chicago Black Sox, with the World Series. It's been going on forever. It doesn't mean that sports are going to be, man, everything's fixed. Of course, you're going to have your conspiratorial folks out there that think everything's fixed every time there's a bad throw. Someone's, throwing a football game. But, for someone like Brandon, too, was really surprising to me as a guy that, why he must be an addict, because why would you want to throw away? I remember when he was in Cincinnati, and he had Cincinnati on the cusp of a really decent season earlier.
Yeah, they made a big run middle of the year. Yeah,
they did. I think they had knocked off Louisville. They had knocked off a couple of decent teams, maybe a team from this. And so, this is a kid that we talked about on our shows, and we thought that maybe, particularly with the draft we had this past year, only 2 quarterbacks going in the first round, which is historically low. We thought maybe he'd be one of those guys that would get out and get a shot at being a first or second round guy. And then, of course, all this happens. Well, let me ask you this before we got to fly here. So what do you do if you got Texas Tech on your playing list? Are you backing out? What's the next line of defense here?
Well, I mean, I think you've seen the do nothing commissioner of the Big 12. His name's Yormark. Forgot his first name, but he is meeting today with all the athletic directors, and they're going to draft some kind of position because he's just the commissioner. He can't speak on behalf of the league, so he's got to cover himself up by having all the other voices be heard. But all of them almost are unanimously weighing in that this is not acceptable. This will not stand, and to me, where's the president and the administration and the board of trustees with Texas Tech? I mean, if you have any integrity as an institution, you're going to say, I don't care what the judge says, this guy's not playing for Texas Tech this year, but they're not in charge. Cody Campbell and his money is in charge at Texas Tech. That is glaringly apparent now with the crickets that you're hearing from Lubbock, Texas, which amazingly is a place where I would say 1 out of 500 Americans could put their finger on a map and show you where Lubbock, Texas is. It is in the middle of nowhere. Western Texas, it is nothing but oil fields and sagebrush. It is the end of the earth, and Cody's trying to put it on the map, and clearly he is the man calling the shots at Texas Tech based on what's happening. And all these other administrators and presidents are going to say, hey, if Texas Tech is in, we're out. We're not playing them this year. We don't care what the repercussions are.
Guns up, man. I remember when Tommy Tuberville used to be coming out of Texas Tech. Guns up. Hey, well, I got you on real quick. We do the show every single week. It's Keefer and Kurre on sports, and we also do a wonderful television show that butts right up against the SEC on ABC 3340, 10:30, 11 o'clock every Saturday morning. Check it out. The starting lineup by the Birmingham Racecourse and Casino. I always want to say BJCC. I get my B's mixed up. Birmingham Racecourse and Casino. What's your thoughts on the whole Kalshi situation? I keep seeing commercials, which, by the way, are pretty funny about, hey, they take bets on Martians, and then that poor Martian is crawling out from underneath a crater, and he's like, "Give me my 9 iron." You're not going to. I'm like, dude.
I just don't know what to think about all that. This speculation.
I looked into it last week for a couple hours because I wanted to know what I was talking about. My son is not into it, doesn't gamble on those things, or at least I hope he's not. It's a brilliant idea. the fact that you can bet on these things. And traditionally speaking, whenever we have like a Super Bowl, we have all these things called prop bets, right? And that is, how long is the national anthem going to be?
Yeah.
Does Denny Hamlin have a better shot of becoming third? And you can do these cross bets and all these strange, but they're called exotics. But normally you can't bet more than 50, $100, 150, and certainly in Vegas, they don't even have those things. Your son's been on many times. They don't take bets in Las Vegas at Caesars on how long the national anthem is going to be.
No, that's all offshore.
Now you can go offshore. You can do with some of these things, and certainly for Kalshi. But now you've got people who are making $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 on bets on whether Donald Trump is going to stay to the third period of the NBA game last night, which, by the way, was one of the bets. Will Donald Trump be seen on television in the third quarter of the Knicks game last night? And people are making money on that. And we always know the house always wins. I wonder how they're they're ensuring the house continues to win with these type of wagers, because they're taking big time bets. I'm not really sure how it goes, but man, it seems like we're getting it muddied up a little bit more on top of everything that's going on with the Swarovski situation.
Well, again, conventional Vegas, the conventional gaming companies aren't involved in this. This is a new kind of direction that's not really regulated and not really controlled. So more wild, wild west stuff. I wouldn't be terribly assured. I don't know what the guarantees are that even if you successfully wager, you better make sure it's a reputable outfit that you're playing with, because I'm sure they'll take your money to bet, but I would make pretty damn sure that they're going to pay you off. And I don't know what your legal opportunity is when it's kind of just a rogue industry right now. But the idea is fascinating, but I don't know enough about it really to comment, except to say I'm a little skeptical of the whole concept.
Final question. How do you feel going into this college football season? Assuming that nothing else major comes up, or there's going to be some more things that happen. We know that. Does it feel dirty to you? Does it feel like, or do you think we're just going to forget about everything? It's still college football. It's still fantastic.
I think opening day, there's going to be 90,000 people in the stands all over the country. And
no one's going to give a squat.
And when they kick off when the teams run on the field and the band plays and the cheerleaders shake, it's okay. It's college football again. And I think the ground is a little bit unstable right now, but the product is still there. And as long as it's there, I still think people are going to watch it. I think people are going to get a little disillusioned as time goes on with the fact that, again, there's no enforcement. And we're going to get to the point where the season becomes kind of irrelevant, because the teams with the monster payrolls are going to be the successful teams. That's just common sense. And so Nick Saban is not wrong when he testified last week in front of this committee about this bogus bill they're trying to push. But Saban was not there really pushing the bill, in my opinion. He was just saying, hey, this is on fire and we better put it out, or this is going to burn the whole thing down. And I don't think he's wrong about that. That's why I'm saying it's inevitable. You're going to see the two big conferences, Big Ten and SEC, break away, form their own super league, institute their own rules in the NFL model. And Tony, it's going to be basically NFL to professional football. And that's what Big Ten Commissioner Tony Soprano has been trying to achieve since he's had that job.
I hope you're wrong, but I think you're right. I hope you're wrong.
I don't see any direction they can go.
I love the smaller aspects of it. I'm okay with not having cupcake games. I get all that. I like the way college football is. Maybe it's because I'm getting older and I don't like change. But I don't want to see those two go off and do their own thing when I know that there's still teams out there that can knock out teams. Here's the thing, and we talked about this. I mentioned on Bone Framings this past week. The LA Dodgers are spending over $400 million on their payroll, and the Pittsburgh Pirates are spending under $100 million, which is, the disparity is ridiculous. It doesn't matter. Luxury tax doesn't change anything.
No.
And if you put a luxury
and
tax,
the Dodgers are cheating because they're deferring so many of those payments to the future and investing the rest of that contract into high yield investments.
We got a cap of $20.5 million, and we already know that Texas Tech is over
not even
70.
close.
It's not. And it doesn't matter. You're going to pay the taxes on it, and there's not going to be no deterrent. The money's just too good. It's too big to change any of that stuff. And so, ultimately, yeah, occasionally you may have the likes of, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a smaller school that, well, you could use certainly Indiana as a case. I am wondering, though, over the next 5 years, are we going to start seeing teams like Indiana that perennially were never in the top 20 and certainly not in a playoff? And now if we go to 24 teams, are we going to have teams like Indiana making it every single year just because they've got the deep pockets for it? And I think the answer is yes. I think
unfortunately, and I think that's the tipping point right now for this year and maybe even next couple of years. But when only the big money teams are flourishing, then you're going to have a problem. And that's, I think, what all the old kind of school guys like Nick Saban are saying, that this is the path we're on. And if we don't do something to change it, it is going to ruin the sport.
It is. One thing that's not ruined, of course, is our big show, the Birmingham Race Course and Casino starting lineup. We'll do it again, 10:30, 11 o'clock again this Saturday morning. The Legends are going to be joining us. We'll have Case Keefer out there live from the desert. And, of course, we got Kip Perspective. We have Bone Fragments, all kinds of great stuff. They'll get after it. And you're still doing some other television, some other radio stuff as well. Please inform the folks where you can be found.
Yeah, we're on Jocks 94.5 every Saturday morning at 8 o'clock a.m. Get your weekend off to a quick start on Game Time. And starting August 25th, I believe, it'll be season number 10 on Sunday mornings of The Morning After.
There you go.
The longest running sports radio show in Birmingham. Kip Keefer, Terry Quillian back for another year on The Morning After. Your first chance on Sunday to respond to everything you saw on the field on Saturday. A Birmingham institution. We can't wait to get that cranked up.
Peace, my friend.
Okay, Tony, thank you.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.